Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing a top 10 list of different Eartheater species. We have about 5 of these currently in our tanks, but we've kept others in the past. We're going to combine our own footage with some from our local fish store. They had some more adult species, but we're also going to combine it with a couple of our friends' footage, Orchard Aquarium and L Aquarium. They're on Instagram and they have great pages. We highly recommend them. They're also great guys, so go check them out. We'll leave links in the description below. We hope you enjoy, and let's dive right in. So before we dive into the list, I just wanted to provide general overarching information on Eartheaters. You'll commonly hear these labeled as Geophagus, with Geo meaning earth and Fagus meaning eat. The genus gets pretty complicated fast, as subcategories and similar species like the Gymnogeophagus and the Satanoperca. So I titled this list the top 10 Eartheaters to avoid any confusion. I'll admit that this list is somewhat biased with the species we've personally kept, but I will say that all the species mentioned are awesome to keep, and we just love Eartheaters in general. The list is a combination of our favorite species as well as the commonality in the hobby today. Many are big and colorful, but most are not as aggressive as other big cichlids. I just love the more peaceful nature, and when you combine them with Severums or electric pulacaras, things like that, it's maybe my favorite aquarium setup. So starting with number 10, we have the Geophagus ultrafons. These are one of the larger geos, and they do well in a big tank. They constantly take big mouthfuls of sand looking for leftover foods, and it's just really interesting to watch. Almost all Eartheaters do best with a sand substrate, so we would definitely recommend that for any Geophagus species. The Gyropari is commonly mislabeled as a Geophagus, but it isn't one technically, even though they have similar sand sifting behaviors. They get fairly big and lengthy, up to about 10 inches long, and their nickname is the Demon Eartheater, which is a bit of a misconception because they are really one of the most peaceful Eartheaters out there, and our Gyropari Jerry here is just awesome, and he really is a gentle giant. As they get older, they get more emerald coloration, especially on their gill plate, but they have awesome spiked fins that make them very unique. The Winemiller I is a beautiful Geophagus. The footage here is from Orchard Aquarium. He has a large group of geos, and at this age and size they look very similar to the Sirena Menses. The Winemiller I do get fairly large as well, and get darker red coloration as they grow up, with long fin extensions similar to the ultrafons. The long fin extensions are really what set these guys apart, and they're really just stunning fish. The Pelican Eye is a unique Geophagus as their lips protrude and they have yellow coloration. They can reach about 10 inches in length and also get a small hump on their heads, which you find in similar Geophagus species. The Pelican Eye and other Geophagus are South American cichlids, so they are used to tropical waters, and they usually need temps in the high 70s, as well as softer water if you're able to provide that. Most of the geos also require a larger tank, usually about 75 gallons or higher, although there are a few exceptions, but with the Pelican Eye you definitely want the bigger tank. The Steinbeck narai is very similar to the Pelican Eye, but they get more red coloration on their hump and also get a darker body. As juveniles they look very similar, but with this footage here we have from L Aquarium. His Steinbeck narai has been a bit aggressive, so he's in a separate tank before going back into his larger aquarium. I've heard that this type of Geophagus gets a little aggressive like that occasionally, so just watch out for that. They are mouth brooders like most on the list here, So when they begin to breed, the fry will stay in the mother's mouth for a week or so as they grow. Most geos pair off, but Steinbeck narai are known to have males breed with multiple females. The Brasiliensis is one of the most colorful of all the Geophagus once they're full grown. They get a shiny coloration throughout their body, which makes them just a stunning fish to keep. They are slow growers, and that is something to consider with most eartheater species. It takes a while for them to color up, but once they do, it is well worth it. In the wild, they've been known to reside in slow and fast-moving waters, so they can usually do well in most aquarium setups. The Brasiliensis may need to be reclassified outside of Geophagus at some point, since they aren't really sifting through sand as much as the others on this list. Their mouth isn't as turned downward, and they also aren't mouth brooders. They may not require the sand substrate that the rest of this list does, but we'd still recommend some sand if you're trying to set up a biotope. The Geophagus pindare is a beautiful fish that looks a lot like the Winemiller I. Their size and color make them a great addition to any tank. They're relatively peaceful and they just get great coloration, as many of these cichlids do. Third on the list is the Gymnogeophagus Ballsonya. My current Ballsonya here is probably my favorite fish of all time, but they are less common than some, so I didn't put them at number 1. She is the most personal fish I've ever kept, and she is always following me around, so much so that I named her Shadow. The Ballsonya takes huge mouthfuls of sand and slowly sifts through looking for food. The sand will fall out near the gills. They are usually very peaceful fish that get up to about 7 or 8 inches long, and they show a ton of color, with tan, yellow, and orange in their body, red and blue in their fins, and also a dorsal fin that's very tall and unique. One interesting note on the Ballsonya is that they come from colder waters in South America, such as Paraguay. Many people think it's best to simulate this cold season each year by lowering your tank's temperature for a few months. Most other eartheaters have tropical temperatures all year round, so this is really a consideration when caring for Ballsonya specifically. The males will grow larger and get a big hump on their heads, so they are definitely unique fish to keep, and I'd highly recommend keeping them. Number 2 on the list is the Sirena Menses. These guys are fairly common and most local fish stores carry them. They are peaceful, relatively non-territorial cichlids with beautiful, almost iridescent patterns of blue, green, and red markings. They sift through sand all day long, and like many on this list, do a great job keeping your substrate looking pristine. Highly recommend these as well, as they're rather easy to find out there and have many of the best qualities that I find in Geophagus. Number 1 on the list is the Geophagus Redhead Tapajos. These guys are probably the most commonly found in the hobby today. They get amazing coloration with a deep red on their heads and blue and red colored fins with a dark green body. They're truly a stunning fish to keep. They grow smaller than some of the other eartheaters on this list, so they are more feasible for most hobbyists to keep. They do well in a group as they tend to stick together. I have 7 of them currently that have grown up together from being less than an inch to about 4 inches now, a little over a year. They're just starting to show the red head and the coloration that makes them so desirable. I've heard that some can get aggressive towards each other if you have too many males in your group, especially when maturity hits and they start breeding. Overall, I've found them to be very hardy fish and rewarding to keep. So that does it for this list, although there are a few honorable mentions such as the thread pinacara, the Geophagus spheni, the daemon or 3-spot eartheaters, among others. Overall, it's probably my favorite group of cichlids out there, and I would recommend any of this list to hobbyists out there, as long as you have a suitable size tank and the proper decor and substrate. If you have any questions, let us know below. We could highlight everything about each individual fish, but the video would have lasted hours. So we're happy to answer any comments down below. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and we'll see you next week.